topics, from investment opportunities to agriculture, all with the unique goal of revealing Paraguay and its potential to the world. Once more, I say welcome, or tapewaje por aite, which is the Guarani word from welcome. I would like now to introduce the host and interviewer of the night, Mr. Chris Portillo. He has a master's degree of international relations from the University of Queensland, and he is currently in charge of the administrative and cultural affairs at the Paraguayan Embassy in Australia. Thanks, Chris, for joining us in this edition.
Thank you, Ale. Hello, everyone. Welcome to all the viewers to the first day of the Paraguayan Speak 2020. I would like to remind everyone that the webinar is live now on the PSA Facebook page, and it's being recorded to upload later on the YouTube channel. And I would like to remind everyone that this webinar will consist of a presentation given by the speaker, and then 20 minutes have been allocated for the speaker to answer questions that anyone may have. If you're watching through the PSA Facebook, please feel free to leave your questions in the comment section, and we'll address them afterwards. You can also submit your questions using the Q&A, the question and answers function in Zoom, which you can find at the bottom of the screen. You can also join the conversation on Twitter by using the hashtag #ParaguaySpeaks. And without further ado, I would like to introduce today's session. By the way, I probably need to reframe this so you can see the consular person here at the embassy. His name is Enrique. He is also joining us here. So today's session is Paraguay, Land of Opportunities. Our special guest speaker is Mario Romero, who is the National Director of the Investment and Export Network of Paraguay, REDIEX. Among his education background, we can say Mr. Romero is an economist and business engineer. He holds a specialization in corporate social responsibility and a Master of Strategic Management in Information Technology. Currently, he's a PhD student in administration, and he's also mentoring and teaching at the Catholic University of Paraguay, among other institutions. Mr. Romero has an extensive experience in both the private and public sectors, in import and export with many different universities around the world. Alongside his tertiary involvement, he has published several papers in many key areas of his expertise, making him clear and obvious candidate to represent the best of Paraguay in our conference. Please welcome Mr. Mario Romero.
Hi, Chris. Thank you very much for the introduction, and good evening for my friend in Paraguay, the authorities in Paraguay, and good morning for you. I think it's 9 a.m. there, and thanks for the support of the Embassy of Paraguay in Australia too. Alejandra, thanks for your help with this webinar, with presentation. Many thanks to the event organizers for this opportunity. I am here with my colleagues, Nikolaus Osiw, that is Director of Competitive Intelligence in REDIEX, and my another colleague is Federico Sosa, is our Director of Investment Attraction, that will help me to answer some questions that will maybe you will have after this presentation. Let me share my presentation right now. 1 second, please. I have here, I don't know if you are watching the presentation correctly. Please, is now you can see my presentation?
We can see it.
Okay, let's start. Let's start. From the Investment and Export Network of Paraguay, I want to share with you our country presentation. As you can see there in this slide, Paraguay, Land of Opportunities. Yes, this is our message here. Paraguay and Australia. Well, let's talk about the trade and business opportunities between Paraguay and Australia. In this case, I'm going to show you the trade balance between Paraguay and Australia. As you can see here, our commercial exchange is in US million. The commercial relationship with Australia is still very small, as you can see here, but it has significant growth potential. Why? Here in this slide, where we can see the Paraguay export to Australia, what Paraguay can sell to Australia, and what Australia can sell to Paraguay or can export to Paraguay. On the left side of this slide, we can see the products exported from Paraguay to Australia. Chia seed being at the top of the list, you can see there, by far the most important good, followed by a lesser quantity of charcoal, bakery products, and sugar. On the right side of this slide, you will see products imported from Australia to Paraguay. These are testing machines, pharmaceutical goods, flat roll iron, and diverse machineries used for various purposes. The commercial relation between Paraguay and Australia are disproportionate, but there is a lot of room available for more opportunities. And I go now to the next slide. Here we have the opportunities. I like to talk about opportunities always because for me it's very interesting to know what we can sell to Australia and what Australia can sell to Paraguay, export to Paraguay. Export potential from Paraguay to Australia, like the following products, you can see here, which you can see on this slide. For instance, you can watch here the oil case soya, the wiring sets for vehicles, plastic packaging goods, insecticide, rodenticide, fungicide, herbicides, and similar as a household products, and rice. Some of the top 6 products that Paraguay can sell, can export to Australia. Now we can see, appreciate here the top 6 products that Australia can export to Paraguay. For example, telephone and mobile phones, insecticide, rodenticide, fungicide, and herbicide too, and similar. Australia can export these goods to Paraguay as an agricultural products, in this case. Can export to motor vehicles for passengers, video game consoles, prepared food, and therapeutical respiration apparatus. Now, I will mention Paraguay as a business platform for the region and its geographical advantages. This is very important because we consider our country as a platform for the region. Here is Paraguay. You can see here the world map. And the most productive cities in Brazil and Argentina are in close proximity to Paraguay, as you can see here. This plus the development of a passageway that will connect the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans through Paraguay makes it a hotspot for flexible and fast trading, opening up to the world market beside from MERCOSUR. MERCOSUR is our southern common market that includes Argentina, Brazil, Uruguay, and of course, Paraguay. Our country profile. Demographically speaking, Paraguay has the advantage of a large young population, as you can see here. Of every 10 people, 4 are under the age of 15, and the population age 15 to 29 represents a quarter of the total population. Paraguay's number today are 7.3 million right now. In surface term, Paraguay is as large as Germany and Sweden. Here we have some main economics indicators. I will just mention some of them. These are the main economic indicator to 2019, 2020. For example, the GDP growth projection for this year, 2020, is minus 2.5%. It's important to mention that this number includes the COVID-19 effect. And this is a number, the projection of the BCP. The BCP is the Central Bank of Paraguay. If we, the inflation is 2.8%, but if we compare the projected growth of Paraguay with respect to that of Latin America, we will see that Paraguay is in better condition than most. The GDP growth of Latin America for 2020 is right now minus 9.4% according to the International Monetary Fund, the IMF. And our projection right now is just minus 2.5%. It's important to mention it. Growth of Paraguayan GDP. Paraguay maintained positive growth despite the volatility of Brazil and Argentina, our neighbors, in recent years, and has the lowest projected decline in the region for 2020. There was actually a decline in GDP expressed in US dollar. However, the GDP in actual values of national currency, our national currency is the Guarani. This national currency grew continuously from 2013 to 2018 and maintained stable in 2019. Let me show you now the GDP composition. You can see the famous cake. We say cake here. And so as we can see, almost in this picture, almost 40% of the GDP is represented by services, followed by manufacturing, trade, electricity and water, construction, and agriculture. This is the GDP composition of my country, Paraguay. If we're gonna talk about export composition, we have here two parts, the left and the right. The main export for the year 2003 were in this order. We can see here the left side of the presentation, and we can see that hydro energy, in this case, say energy, the hydro energy that produced Paraguay is a product of the two main hydroelectric plants in the country, Itaipu and Yacyretá. The Itaipu Dam is a world leader in clean and renewable energy and is a Paraguayan Brazilian company. Both countries are the owner of this company. While Yacyretá Dam is a Paraguayan Argentina company. In the second place, first we have energy in 2003. In the second place, we have the primary products. For example, soy, corn, wheat, sesame, and sunflower. It represents in 2003, 29% of the export composition. In the third place, you can see there in the slide, MIO. What is MIO? MIO is a manufacturer of agrarian origin. There are, for example, vegetable oil or meat products. And in the fourth place, we find the MIO. That means manufacturer of industrial origin. This can be clothing, footwear, plastic, chemicals, pharmaceutical, machinery, barges, and cable, and others. It's important to mention here that during the years 2003 and 2019, we can see the volume of export tripling, if you compare the graphic here. However, the composition of this export also changes. In 2019, these are represented mainly by MAOs. You know, MAOs with 33%. Second place, primary products. Just in the third place is energy. No, the first place in 2003. In 2019, the energy is in the third place. And in the fourth place, the MIOs with 13%. Exactly. On the right side of this slide, you can see how manufacturing of industrial origin is represented mostly by production under the MAQUILA regime. In blue color, you can see the manufacture of industrial origin. In red color, you can see the MAQUILA regime export. And here we can find auto parts, textile, and shoes production, for example, just to mention. Let's go to the FDI evolution. Here we are talking about the FDI stock in million US dollar. The FDI stock evolution, the foreign direct investment for the year 2019 reached US dollar 7.2 billion. And the FDI composition. This slide has two parts. The first one talks about the main countries of origin, and the second part is main investment sector. We have here basically two questions. Where do the FDIs mainly come from? As we can see here, the main countries that invest in Paraguay are USA, Spain, Brazil, Holland, Luxembourg, Panama, Guatemala, United Kingdom, Uruguay, Switzerland, Mexico, etc. The second question is, what are the main sectors preferred by FDI in Paraguay? And we go to the right side. The most important, finance, commerce, oils, transportation, communication, chemical, and rental housing, and others, as you can see here. Now it's time to talk about the country risk qualification, something very important for the investment. Evolution of the rating of Paraguay. We are just, if you can see in this slide, we are just one step away from the investment grade. This will allow Paraguay to access better investment opportunities, considering that there are international firms that only operate in market with investment grade. Very, very important, this point, and it's our goal right now. Tax scheme. Paraguay tax scheme consists in the triple 10, as you can see, 10, 10, 10. 10% for all corporates, personal and common and indirect tax rate. Here we compare Paraguay among Argentina, Uruguay, Brazil, Bolivia, etc. If we compare ourselves to other countries in the region, our tax scheme, as you can see there, is very attractive. And now the tax reform. The impact of the tax effective change for foreign companies. Here we have, again, the left and the right side, a comparative overall taxes between 2019 and 2020. Tax-wise, the overall tax in 2020 currently is of 23.5%. As we can see, there is a reduction, if we compare, of 3.8% in overall tax for foreign companies from 2019 to 2020, seeking to encourage the foreign investment in the country, more competitive. That's the idea. Labor regime. Labor regime, within the labor regime, we can talk about the paid holidays, and the paid holidays go as follow. According to your time in the company, you are entitled to a number of days. If that is from 0 to 5, one corresponds with 12 working days. More than 5 to 10 years correspond 18 working days. And if you have more than 10 years in a company, is 30 working days. Paid holiday. Then we have the contribution of for social insurance, something very important in Paraguay. The contribution for social insurance comes from the employer, 16.5%, and the employee with 9%. Let's talk more about the energy in Paraguay, renewable energy. This is our country map and the cost of energy in our country. Electrical energy in Paraguay costs 5.17 cents per kilowatts, the lowest in the region. You can see in this presentation. In July 2019, the National Congress approved a new program to make the transmission of electric energy stronger. That includes 2 new 500 kilowatts line to improve the distribution. In addition to the expansion and improvement of the distribution system that allows the full supply to large parts of the national territory. The surplus of electricity produced by both the Itaipú and Yacyretá hydroelectric plants that correspond to Paraguay is exported. We sell to Brazil part of it in 78%, and Argentina 22%. The surplus. With this, Paraguay is one of the largest producer and exporter of renewable energy in the world. Let's talk about the COVID-19 prevention measure. Regarding the prevention measure relating to the COVID-19 situation, the country is in mainly phase 3, which means that the following activities are authorized. Authorized activity are opening of business, private and public work, corporate office, 50% of staff, not the 100%, artistic, cultural, and sport events without a spectator, industry in general, service delivered to home related to essential activities. As a result of the measures taken by the government as of August 11th, these are the number of the confirmed cases, recovered, and death. You can see the right side of this slide, the numbers. It's continuing increasing, of course. Now we're gonna talk about the incentive for national and international investment. All the incentive, or some of them, not all, some of the incentive that our country has for national and international investment. Key factors, here we have some key factors for investment to take into account. Just to mention, a greater projected economy growth in Latin America between 2020 and 2014, according to International Monetary Fund, lower indirect tax rate in the region, lower corporate tax rate in the region, lower energy costs in the region, economic resilience for external factors. With Argentina and Brazil, you know that some crisis in Argentina and Brazil affect Paraguay. Another key is growing economic diversification, macroeconomic discipline, low public debt, national government structural reform underway to improve the efficiency of the actions. and youngest population in the region. Another incentive is a 69 investment incentive law. The purpose of this law is to promote and increase capital investment of national and foreign origin that seeks to increase the production of goods and services, the creation of permanent jobs, the encouragement of export and the replacement of imports, the incorporation of technology that allow to increase the production efficiency and permit for the extensive and best management of raw material, manpower, and national energetic resource. This law is very important and useful. Other incentive, here we have the raw material regime and the product and national employment regime. The first one is the raw material regime. One obtains benefits on the imports of raw material and implement with a zero customs tax, provided it is demonstrated beforehand that this material is used in their own production process and that there is no national production for them. This is in case that Paraguay do not produce this raw material and can import with a 0% custom tax. And another one is the product of a national employment regime. National products and services have a margin of preference of up to 20% in public purchases. This is very important and interesting. Vehicle regime. There are other incentives within the vehicle regime that give fiscal advantages to the companies, such as exemption of custom tax. The VAT on import is calculated on 20% of the actual custom value. Regarding the development of the motorcycle parts sector, there are currently 25 companies registered, companies ready and registered in this area, in the plastic sector, suspension, metal parts, rubber parts, etc. For investment greater than $5 million, you can apply for the Law 5542 investment guarantee. This law allows a series of benefits to investors, such as invariability of the tax rates of the corporate tax for companies for a period of up to 10 years, favorable exchange rates, and a special regime for export. It's a new law, but very important for some kind of investment that we have. Other incentive, here we have the PPP law. Even more incentive can be found with the PPP law that seeks to promote the public sector related investment by the public-private partnership, especially for social infrastructure, roads, railways, ports, etc. Industrial parks. The Ministry of Industry and Commerce has its own industrial park, one industrial park, but there are also several private industrial parks with all the services available to their user. This industrial park provide a series of benefits to the user, like reduction on the real estate tax, reduction on the municipal construction, building subdivision, and real estate transfer taxes, reduction on 50% of the induction allowance fee, VAT exemption for real estate or factory renting costs, some of the benefits of this kind of industrial parks. Now, let's talk about the free trade zone. Paraguay actually has two free trade zones. Traditionally, the free trade zone have served as a liaison warehouse for the import of finished products in order to pay the custom duties and corresponding taxes only at the time of the definitive introduction to the Paraguayan territory. Currently, the main market is Brazil. MAQUILA regime. MAQUILA regime consists in a series of policies to improve the production of goods and services for export. The way we achieve this is by having a branch of the Australian or other foreign companies in Paraguay that produces and export to the world under the MAQUILA regime. Under this program, the company will only pay 1% in overall tax and receive other benefits that you can see in this slide. Now I will mention some commercial agreement, and of course we're gonna share with you this presentation without problem, all the information you have here. But I want to mention that Paraguay, as a member of a Southern Common Market, MERCOSUR, has direct access to a market of 260 million consumers and many other benefits. Agreement for the automotive sector with Argentina, Brazil is something new and very important. This agreement to export auto parts from Paraguay to Argentina, Brazil, and other countries. There are two different automotive agreements, one with Argentina and the other one with Brazil. Both allow a series of benefits for the auto parts industries that are established in Paraguay and give us many benefits. Then we have trade agreement between MERCOSUR and Europe. It is also important to mention agreement with the European Union and EFTA, which will allow, once signed, great commercial opportunities for Paraguay. Other agreements. Here we have some bilateral commercial agreement network. Paraguay through MERCOSUR maintain dialogues for negotiation with Canada, South Korea, Singapore, and other countries, including Australia in this case. Commercial agreement. Here we have the other bilateral commercial agreement network with Germany, Australia, El Salvador. There are many investment agreements with several other nations that are currently underway. These are examples of some investment agreement. And in the next slide, we have some examples of a commercial agreement with other countries like Bolivia, Chile, Cuba, Mexico, Colombia, Peru, Israel, Palestine. Besides from the investment agreement, Paraguay has commercial agreement with this nation too. Okay. This part of the presentation very interesting. It's like a picture, a photo. How is Paraguay right now? And here in blue color, we can see Paraguay's 42 strains. Just to mention, we have right now high quality of life at a reasonable cost, young labor force, and demographic bonus, and abundant and competitive energy, abundant and diverse natural resources, central location in MERCOSUR, and robust macroeconomic stability. As an investment and export network, we are focusing our effort on the following sector, red color. Creative sector, light manufacturing. In this sector, we have to include the chemical, pharmaceutical, textile, and vehicle parts. Another sector very important is the IT service management, where we can include here the call center or the BPO, the business process outsourcing, and other services. Then we have the agribusiness, that is very important too. regional logistic, value-added mining, forestry, and tourism, and personal service. In the case of personal service, we need to include education and geriatric care. But with the arrival of COVID-19 in this part of the presentation, forestry, value-added mining, and tourism were the sector most affected in their growth possibilities. It's important to mention it. Distinguished performance. Here we show the performance of some sectors in Paraguay. I will mention just some of them. For example, for instance, third place in the world in baggage fleets, fourth place in the world as a exporter of soybeans and their products, fourth place as a world exporter of starches, fourth place as world exporter of mate tea, sixth place in the world as exporter of bovine leather, etc. You can see in this part of the presentation all the distinguished performance in Paraguay. Now, we want to know some companies that are established in Paraguay. These are some international companies installed in Paraguay. You can see here. And yes, here we can see that some international companies that have already established themselves in Paraguay. And it's important to mention that there are investments from 41 different countries right now. And these companies is just to mention some of them. Then, if you ask me about the sustainable business opportunities, I want to show you some of them. Here we can see some sustainable business opportunities in Paraguay. I will mention just the main sector. In the food sector, opportunities in cities, energy and material, health and wellness are some of the main sector where you can invest right now, are very, very important. Okay, I think it's okay. We are okay with the time. Just finishing. Omega Green Project. Here, this is very important. It's a new company that is established in Paraguay. The biofuel project called Omega Green is the largest investment in the country history and will employ 3,000 people to build it. Once operational, the biofuel plant will generate 2,400 jobs. As you can see, this in this part of the presentation is the Minister of Industry and Commerce and the President of Paraguay too, with the owner, director of the Omega Green Project. It's very important for our country, and I think that's all. Thank you. Thank you for your attention, and ready for the question.
Well, thank you very much, Mario. This was an excellent presentation. I think we can all say that we learned plenty of new things with all the valuable knowledge you've given us. Before moving to the questions and answers section, I would like to share a video that our friends for REDIEX sent us. And with this video, you will be able to enjoy Paraguay in just over a minute. So if we can just share the screen with the video now.
I go around the world, traveling thousands of kilometers. But when I'm in this land, I feel at home because I cross the heart of a continent from whence life's impulse flows, watering the dreams of the Guarani soil. I am so present here. My Guarani name only bears a single vowel. This is why I choose to stay as one of the world's greatest natural freshwater reserves. When I'm in this earthly spot, I become transformed and give rise to great ideas, productive value to the fertile red soil of a hardworking country. Thus, I surround it like a blessed haven with waterways that connect its people and their best products with the rest of the world. There are no limits to this land's challenges because we have more alliances with which to grow and thousands of dreams to be lived. Paraguay's rich lands have it all, and I am everywhere in Paraguay. Welcome to our water-rich country. We are Paraguay.
Well, that was indeed a lovely video. And so with that being said, I think we're ready to start the debate and conversations. For this section, we also have Nikolaus Osiw, the Director of Competitive Intelligence, and we have Federico Sosa, which is the Director of Investment Interactions. They will be helping us answer some of the questions that you have already posted. I would like to propose us just briefly going through the questions that we already answered, because I see that there's some questions here that we have addressed already, but maybe the rest of our 49 participants have not been able to read through them. So if Federico or
Sure.
Nikolaus want to go with them.
I can. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Mario. Thank you very much, everybody. It was an excellent presentation. While I was hearing the presentation, I was answering some of the questions that Dr. Zepkan had and other colleagues as well. There was a question about the transoceanic highway, which is we call the Corredor Bioceánico, which goes from the Alto Paraguay province of Paraguay and connects all the way to Bolivia and Argentina. This is actually saving a substantial transportation time between markets in the Atlantic side of South America all the way to the Pacific side. So this is a huge opportunity for Australian importers, exporters, and investors, because one of the biggest challenges to reach the MERCOSUR markets is the transportation and logistics aspects. Of course, you can send it by sea, but by land, you can actually save considerable amount of cost and time, considering the Australian economy is a mining powerhouse, and there would be some type of goods that would ideally be disembarked in the Chilean ports and then be sent by land to Argentina or Brazil. So we were answering a lot of those questions related to that. Then there was a recent colleague of ours who just graduated from the University of Melbourne. She was asking about the transportation projects currently underway right now. We have these PPP projects for what's called the Tren de Cercanías, which is like the suburban light rail project. We have touristic railway projects as well. The PPP law, just like in Australia, allows private-public partnerships. And we've also been looking into other opportunities as well, such as the Metrobus, which is a pending project. Many of the specific details of this, we can go into depth in offline conversations, but these are the excellent opportunities for Australian business companies, Australian construction companies. There's a follow-up question here by Mr. Tarek Zepkan. Yes, I think it's important in reconnecting Brazil with economically and socially. Exactly, yes. This is a great opportunity, just like Mr. Romero mentioned. Paraguay is your business platform for the region. Don't think of just Paraguay as a market of 7 million. Think of it as a market of 260 million. Of course, Australia is very much geared toward Asian, European, and American markets. So investing, exporting, and doing commerce with Paraguay is a way to diversify your risks in this very volatile world and making sure Australian exports are very much competitive and they stay on top of the curves. There's a huge demand for Australian products. Australia has a positive country brand image, and we think Australia and Paraguay could be a very interesting partners. One small thing that Mario was mentioning about the Mega Green project, which is to date the largest project, but we hope to have even larger investments, and hopefully an Australian investment can come, is that project considered Australia as an investment location, and they decided for Paraguay because of better business climate opportunities, and because Paraguay is a green economy. You can have all the renewable energy you need in Paraguay, which of course there's plenty in Australia, but there's more in Paraguay. We only consume about 15 to 18% of the electricity we have in these hydroelectric dams. Mario, there was a question about agriculture. It was addressed to you, or I don't know if Nikolaus wants to take it. And we welcome all the questions from all the colleagues in this very interesting conversation.
So just to mention, Paraguay has the capacity to feed almost 100 million people. We made on calculation up to date, it may be 50 million if we consider our export, but we have a growth potential, not just to improve or increase the cultivated area, but to intensify the output of each hectare. There are still important potentials to get technical inputs, to get irrigation, and to improve the output per hectare. So we have the potential to feed almost 100 million persons, and food has a future in the world. Maybe technology, we don't know what will be in 50 years, in 100 years, but I'm sure people will have to eat in 100 years. So agriculture has indeed a big future in Paraguay, and an important potential is that Paraguay does not longer just belong on primary export, but does invest on processing locally the agricultural products. Thank you.
We also see some questions here related from Victor Gallardo. What is needed to attract more technological investments, technology-based companies? I think you're asking from the Paraguayan side. Infrastructure is the biggest challenge. Paraguay does not have direct access to the fiber optic lines internationally, but there's an $170 million investment project called Agenda Digital, which will build a direct fiber optic land link between Paraguay to the undersea cables. That said, Paraguay has a huge potential for data centers, green data centers, because of all our green energy, and because energy costs are very much affordable in Paraguay. So that's a huge competitive advantage for these big data companies, and we welcome all the support from all the private sector actors to do so. And there was a question by Carol, says, hello everyone, how are the opportunities for young graduates of international relations in international trade? Carol, I'll tell you, this is the best time to be a young graduate. I know there's a lot of challenges with the COVID pandemic, but everything in the world's upside down. It's a revolution, basically, in commerce. So all the commercial relations that were once, how would I say, sacrosanct or very normal or expected are upside down. So as a young graduate of international relations and commerce, I would suggest that you look on all the websites of international trade, World Organization of Commerce, learn the tools and the trade, and start seeing different arbitrage opportunities or commerce opportunities, and approach Australian companies and tell them, look, Australian exports are underrepresented, or look, this product from Paraguay is actually in demand in Australia, it's a scarcity. Why don't we import this product from Paraguay? So, or look, this is a great investment opportunity for an Australian company. So literally working with agencies like ours, you can find these opportunities and market to the companies in your country. Dr. Romero or Nico, there was a question about agriculture from Dr. Baumgarten that's still pending. I don't know if one of you wants to. Oh, Nikolaus already answered it. Yes, for the future of demand consumption. I understand Australia and Paraguay, we are competitors in some agricultural markets, but we complement each other nicely. I don't know if there's any other questions.
If you let me mention, Paraguay and Australia may be competitors. We both are agricultural countries, but if we observe the increase of the food request in the world, I think there is enough market for all of us. So we may exchange technologies. In some zones of Paraguay are very similar to Australia. The Chaco region is a very hot and arid region. Maybe we can learn something from your country. And also we are able to share our experiences if you may need.
Yes, on that point too, on that point it's very important to mention that in Paraguay we've imported technology from Australia, and just for the fact that Nikolaus was mentioning, in the Chaco area is very arid, so we've used the Australian water tanks. We call it tanque australiano here, another technology as well. So there's an interesting dialogue between the agricultural and livestock sectors between our countries. I think there's also opportunities for the mining sectors. If anybody are listening here, there's a big Australian mining companies. Paraguay can be a great base to service, to collect, to maintain, and to support Australian mining companies that are very active in the region in Peru, Chile, Argentina. We were just approached by a foreign company that's looking to invest in mining services type investment. So we can talk further offline about those. I can't go too much into detail because of secrecy requirements required by foreign investors, but we can share about mining service opportunities as well. We see two more questions. Okay.
So I think we've covered all the questions, haven't we? The ones from the Zoom platform. So we do have other questions that we have prepared for REDIEX. I don't know if we want to get started with that one. The first question is about the slide number 1 that we had from the presentation. There seems to be a clear trend of export and import between Australia and Paraguay. However, in some years, such in 2015, we see greater import needs of Paraguay, and then in 2019, we see other trends regarding Paraguay as well. Why do you think that is so?
I defer to my colleague Nico for that answer.
Nico,
Yes.
you have the answer, correct answer for this. Is in a special case in 2015 and 2019. You can explain this, Nikolaus.
Yes, in 2019, we had an import and export of chia seeds or chia seed from Paraguay to Australia. So there were just USD 3.2 million of chia seeds. And in 2015, Paraguay, in one case, imported iron, flat iron or iron sheets from Australia for 2.8 million USD.
So that by itself is an opportunity for foreign commerce and international relations graduates analyzing those data sets and asking yourselves, why were those differences of trade anomalies in those years? And you can probably go into the weeds for that.
It definitely
Chris,
looks
other questions?
it looks like a very important question. So do you suppose that if global events of 2020, COVID in particular, had not occurred, that this decline in Paraguay's GDP, as you see in the slide 11, would have continued? And why do you think that would have been?
Yes, here my colleague Nikolaus will complement, but in this case, without the COVID-19, our growth projected for 2020 was 4%. But as you know, with the COVID-19, it right now is a minus 2.5%. But the projection was 4%. Right now for 2020 with the COVID-19, the projection is 4% for the next year, 2021. I don't know if Nikolaus can complement my answer.
So just to complement, Paraguay will be, according to the International Monetary Fund, among the least affected countries of South America. We will have a negative impact, but we will be maybe the most resilient of the region due to our importance of agricultural and food sector, which will be exported as well as other years. There are some other sectors which are more affected, maybe the manufacturing sectors, which depends from Brazilian industry. But also we expect for next year, as Mr. Mario said, that our economy will be able to recover the loss in this year.
Yeah, I just want to add to that too, Mr. Romero, if you allow me to, is the fact that, as you were mentioning and Nikolaus was mentioning as well, the Paraguayan economy is very resilient. But we know we've actually started in 2018 with a drought. At the end of 2018, we had a drought. The start of 2019, we had floods. Then at the end of 2018, we had droughts. And everybody thought we would have a negative year. And we ended up tying the year. It was like 0.10%. So we were already starting to have a rebound effect in the first 3 months in 2020. And we had really good projections. And then the pandemic hit. And even though the pandemic hit, we have still one of the highest growth rates in the region compared to others. The only other country that has a positive growth rate in the region right now is Guyana, which has a 44% growth rate because they actually discovered oil last year. And they're actually doubling their GDP right now because they're exporting oil for the first time. But aside from that, Paraguay is very resilient. This shows the diversification of our economy and the impact that policy supporting agencies like REDIEX has had in the past few years, diversifying exports, attracting investments. So that's why we're very keen to attract Australian investment. We see this as a huge opportunity for medium to size Australian firms, multinational firms, and other Australian companies who have investments in Brazil, Argentina, or the rest of South America who want to invest in Paraguay to diversify risk.
Thank you, Federico. So we're almost running out of time, so we have about time for 2 more questions. So I'll just continue with the next one. So just building up on what you were just talking about, our government administration is clearly aware that there's going to be a decline. And so you said that we're very resilient, but what's been done specifically to effectively stop this decline? Can you elaborate a little bit more on that idea?
Yes, thank you. This is a question we usually refer to our colleagues from the Ministry of Finance. We have an economic and a resiliency plan, an economic action plan, which has several different keys. We have a fiscal impact, fiscal stimulus, a monetary stimulus, and a social stimulus. On the social side, we have several different social programs to give cash transfer grants to different types of workers, subsidies for workers who are temporarily laid off. We also have our fiscal stimulus part of the plan. We have an infrastructure project. What's interesting to note is that even though we had the pandemic and we had the quarantine and all these countries went to strict lockdowns, our construction never stopped. Our public works never stopped. Many of our factories never stopped because they are not in very urban dense areas. There's the urban density of Paraguay is not that high. So they were able to continue working beyond the restrictions. Some of them, of course, had to stop. The services sector, restaurant sectors were very much affected. That's why many of the programs are geared towards them. And on the monetary side, the central banks, just like other banks, they lowered interest rates, they eased banking and financial requirements, and they're actually lending out basically financial credit lines. That's another investment opportunity for financial sector banks and other companies in Australia. I understand some Australian financial entities would be interested in considering overseas expansion opportunities. The central bank and other financial actors, I think, would be very interested in contemplating offers and interest from financial actors in Australia. So we're open to business to talk to any of them to show them the way for that. I think I don't know if that's answers your question, Chris and Nikolaus or Mario, if you want to compliment. I gave some broad strokes. We can send you the specific economic presentation with all the specific details, but that's basically it.
That's very interesting to know, and there's obviously a broad range of measures that are being put in place at the moment. So it's really good to be able to hear at least a glance to be able to see it in broad strokes. So just to end with a bit of a more positive and also imaginative question. It's Australia compared to Paraguay is very developed, almost like comparing chalk and cheese. However, relatively, we have similar economies, just in different amounts and percentages. Do you think that this is true, that given time and resources, could the Paraguay economy become as strong as the Australian economy over time? And what are your thoughts about it? I don't know who wants to answer this question.
So let me answer. We have indeed a need of more and more development. We have still some levels of poverty, but if we compare the poverty level of 2003 and 2018, the last data, we did reduce on 50% the poverty of Paraguay. We were able to increase in this time the per capita income from almost $1,300 to $5,400. So we think we are in the correct way, but there is still a long journey to took until we get on development level which is similar to Australia. We have a national development plan for 2030. So in this plan, we have the most important governmental challenges like poverty reduction and job creation. We try to create jobs, we try to attract investment, we try to foster exports just to reduce poverty. To reduce poverty is our most important goal for the government. Federico?
Yes, I'm very confident that one day we will reach Australia's level of development. It's just the sheer size of Australia. It's 26 times larger than Paraguay. It's a huge continent. You have a lot of room there to expand and a lot of resources. We also have a lot of resources. We were as once large as Australia until the big war with Argentina and Brazil. But still, we consider MERCOSUR and our friends to be as our resources, our allies. So if you look at the MERCOSUR market as a whole, we are as big as Australia. We see ourselves in an economic bloc. So as Nikolaus mentioned, and as Mario also mentioned, we are on the pathway to development with a National Development Plan 2030, and we're adopting Australian best practices and ideas. So these type of changes are very important. And then we're very thankful for all the ideas, all the information, all the opportunities that our Paraguayan students, friends, and Australian friends can share with us. So we are very grateful for Dr. Mario for helping us organize this event and for introducing us to such a great audience. Mario, I don't know if you want to share as well some thoughts about our development and how we can converge to the Australian model.
Yes, I think that just we have to work through the chambers, Paraguayan and Australian chamber, or Australian Paraguayan chamber, to improve the relations, the commercial relation. We have a lot to do, and I think through the embassy and through the different chambers that we have right now with Australia and the students that are in Australia right now, we can improve this commercial relation and cultural relation too, and we can help you. We can support through REDIEX to get this goal. And some people ask about the agriculture, the future of agriculture. I think this is important to mention that we consider that the future is we have to focus our effort in the agribusiness in this case with things with added value, and this is the future in Paraguay, and we can work together to improve this kind of process of our agricultural products. That's all. I don't know if you have another question for us. I don't, Chris, you're.
Yeah, I put the microphone now. Well, it's we've got plenty of questions. That was indeed a very lively conversation, but unfortunately we've run out of time. Thank you very much, Mario, and all of you, because for all the amazing information you have shared with us, and we're looking forward to keeping with revealing the wonders that our country has to offer. Thank you also to the audience for all the interesting questions. I would like to remind everybody that you can rewatch this session on the YouTube channel and on the PSA, the Paraguayan Student Association Facebook page. Unfortunately we didn't get to ask many of the questions, so we'll collate them and redirect them to the speaker, and they will be answered in due time. And yeah, I'll pass this to Alejandra so she can finish this conference.
Hello, it was a great session today, indeed. Tomorrow we have another session, and we look forward to speaking to you again. The name of tomorrow's session is Guarani cum Indigenous Peoples Hub in Villa del Rosario, Paraguay. This is a community center that was built with the support of the Australian government, and the leader of this project is a Paraguayan person, Lorena Rios, and she is a current student of the University of Melbourne. So that will be very interesting to know of. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye, and thank you for joining in this conference.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
See you.
Okay, thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Have a good day.